The Daily Journal has been Johnson County's news source for the past 45 years. But how is the Daily Journal written, edited, printed, and distributed to thousands of people on a daily basis? In the next 30 minutes, you'll know all the vital steps to how the Daily Journal ends up on your front porch every morning. Founded in 1963, the Daily Journal is one of Indiana's most honored community newspapers. The Daily Journal is owned by Home News Enterprises, LLC, who runs and operates many other daily newspapers in central Indiana. The Journal strives to bring readers the facts, rather than to be loved as a newspaper. Senior editor Scarlett Seitz believes this is only one small aspect of the Daily Journal's philosophy.
First and foremost, we really see ourselves as a watchdog of government. We want to hold public officials accountable. We want to ask the tough questions. And the reason we want to do those things is because we want to empower the reader. So they know how their tax dollars are being spent. So they know if a new school should be built in Franklin or Center Grove, to really see if there's a real need for that. So we want to ask the tough questions respectfully of our local officials so they can explain what's in their budgets, how money is being spent, what are they doing with policies, and how that's impacting our readers. There are great stories in our community to tell. We want to write about the athlete who hit the winning shot, about the lady who overcame breast cancer, or the man down the street who achieved his lifelong dream. Those are just as important as going to a city council meeting or a school board meeting. So we want to tell those stories as well because they all make up our community. They are the fabric of our community.
To achieve this philosophy, the Daily Journal staff puts high priority on ensuring reporters cover all sides of a story. Once editors convene with the reporters to make sure an article has a storyline, reporters are given insightful tips on how to improve their story. While these stories are undergoing second and third edits, reporters can begin interviewing officials and adding the significant details to an article. Some reporters, who only focus on accent or lifestyle pages, will normally produce stories that aren't extremely time sensitive. Therefore, these reporters will know their story assignments weeks in advance.
Typically each day I come in, being with an accent page, I know what my stories are going to be usually 2 or 3 weeks in advance, so I have a good idea what I'm coming into, as opposed to some of the news reporters who they might have breaking news, there might have been an accident over the night, something going on that they'll have to deal with. So I pretty much have my schedule. I typically try and do most of my writing in the morning and then schedule interviews late morning throughout the afternoon. I have a deadline every day where certain stories have to be done on this day if they're going to run the paper 2 or 3 days down the line.
I write the story, I'll turn it in. One of the editors will look at it, Scarlett or Michelle typically, and then it will go to the copy desk for their review, and then if they have any questions throughout the day, they can let me know. Sometimes if it's later in the evening, they may call me and say, I've got a question on your story, and then we just go from there and then see you in the next day's paper.
After a reporter has written their final draft of a story, it will be uploaded to a shared database called Falcon. Falcon allows all employees to access the article for editing and publishing. At around 10 a.m. each day, significant members of each department convene in a preliminary budget meeting to draft a rough outline of the paper. However, as breaking news is discovered, more stories are continuously added to the lineup of articles. This calls for another and final budget meeting at around 3 p.m. At this meeting, the placement of the articles on the paper will be determined, along with which stories will be added or cut. Once this meeting is adjourned, copy editors will begin to pull finished articles off the Falcon database. The stories will once again be edited a third and final time to check for any missed grammatical or spelling mistakes. Now, copy editors will begin drafting the pages of the newspaper. Since the front page is only factual, it is mainly filled with breaking news that will occur later in the day. For the time being, copy editors will fill the spaces in with gibberish to get a general idea for the layout. When stories are completed throughout the evening hours, copy editors may have to shift this format around to compensate for the longer stories that may develop.
Around 3 o'clock we have our daily budget meeting where we go through, this is going to be on page 1, this is going to be on page 3, these are the wire stories. And then after that, the desk comes back to their stations and starts putting together their pages, reading stories, checking everybody else's pages. And then I do keep track of when everybody proofs their pages so we know that we're staying on deadline. You know, this page needs to be later if it has a later story on it, or wire stuff that's breaking, that's coming in later. And it's really just kind of a balancing act between getting all the stories in that we need to get in, getting them all read, getting all the pages read, and getting everything done on the deadline.
At this point in the process, photographer Scott Robertson has already been given photo assignments and begins the process of taking pictures to go along with the corresponding stories. However, since Robertson is the only Daily Journal staff photographer, many reporters are left with the responsibility of taking simple photographs for smaller stories.
Yeah, since we have one photographer and we do have some freelance photographers, but Scott is not always available for whatever we might be doing, so I usually have a camera that I just take with me everywhere. If something happens and I need to take photos at that time, I'll do that, or someone might say, hey, this is a story that you'll need to take your own photos for. So I've really been trying to get my practice in that. I think in college I took one class on photography, so it wasn't much. Really been trying to build my skills. That's just another part of my job, is to try to produce photos that can go into the paper.
Yeah, we all have to be, we all have to do multiple duties, and certainly photography is one of the things that we all had to learn, even if we're not very good at it to begin with.
I usually get emails. I probably get 30, 40 emails a day. I get my emails. The reporters decide, okay, they've got a story. They send an email to Michelle Holtkamp, my managing editor, first. She goes through them, and what she tries to do is, because I get so many, I have about 10 people that send me different assignments every day. She tries to go through and decide what the priorities are, which ones have to be done by me right away, which ones can wait and be done maybe by a stringer or by one of the reporters possibly.
Once deadline approaches, it's time for the finished product to be sent to the presses for printing. The Daily Journal used to house its own printing facility many years ago, but when the Journal outgrew its own facilities, it was financially smarter to send the paper to another printer than buying a new press. Now, when deadline strikes, the paper is sent over to the Republic Printing Center in Columbus, Indiana. The paper is sent electronically as a PDF file via the internet, where it will first be checked for the correct date. After it is confirmed that it's tomorrow's paper, it will be converted to a TIFF file. This file format will better understand the breakdown of the paper as one large image. Next, the paper is broken into 4 separate colors: cyan, black, magenta, and yellow. A specific mathematical formula is then used to allow these 4 colors to make up all of the colors on the paper. A color strip is inserted in the middle of each full page to test each individual color, along with a crosshair, which is a combination of all of the colors to make black. Later in the printing process, this test strip will prove to be very helpful. Once the paper has been electronically converted and approved, it is sent to the transetter. Aluminum plates are inserted into the transetter, where they will receive an electronic copy of the newspaper. The aluminum plate rolls around a drum where the newspaper is engraved into the aluminum. Each plate will then be lowered and ejected from the transetter. It will be rotated 90 degrees to then fit into the processor. The processor contains an oven, which will heat the plate to 280 degrees Fahrenheit. After being heated, the plate will take a short journey to the developer, where the plate will receive a film coating, much like pictures are developed. The plate will follow with a water rinse and receive a finishing coat. The developer ensures the safety and durability of the plate. While this plate continues on its path, a new plate will begin the same process. Each plate is approximately 4.5 minutes apart, which requires the plates to be transported on an automated belt system to prevent the plates from bumping together. The plates now move on to the next machine, the bender. The bender will first take pictures of the plate to be certain all of the measurements are correct. Next, the edges of the plates are bent, so later on they will securely fit onto the printing press. If the cameras detect the measurements are off, the plate is discarded and the entire process will start over for the rejected plate. At around 10:30 each night, the plates will begin to become available for the press. All plates must be finished before they can be added to the press for printing. Since each page and each color are broken up by different plates, the Daily Journal will have around 48 plates to print the entire newspaper. While the employees are waiting for the plates to begin the printing process, they will begin to add color and paper to the press. The color is stored in mass amounts and run to each section of the press where it is needed. As well as color, the paper